Crunchy goodness for hunger on the go.
Tonight, on First at 9 this Sunday, the 2nd of February 2025. Neighborhood First. India's budget 2025 unveiled yesterday. 3 billion Indian rupees allocated to aid Sri Lanka. Innovation and development. China agrees to commence 76 development projects in Sri Lanka, including halted projects, reveals the president. Says no economic stabilization without global investments and trust of the local financial sector. The oversight diagnosis. Ayurvedic medicine needs stronger oversight, claims the Minister of Health. Highlights the need to produce high-quality standardized Ayurvedic products for the country. The $2.5 billion potential. Sri Lanka's coconut industry can rake in $2.5 billion annually, affirms the Coconut Milk Manufacturers Association.
It has a huge potential to go at least about 2 billion or above.
Highlights the need to improve annual coconut production to 4.5 billion nuts in the long run.
Chilo Dairy, Sri Lankawam Kiren Perata. Obe Vishwasi Dinu Sensodyne, then ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක.
කන්ට පරිස්සම් කරගත්තොත්
අපි පරිස්සම්.
Asian Paints Causeway Aquasafe වැස්සත් මට්ටුවෙන් ගෙදරත් තිස්නේ.
This is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to Derana First at 9. I'm Aditya Adrisinghe joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world, brought to you by the only Sri Lanka network to rise to the pinnacle across all media platforms, recognized as the best by every survey and beloved by the people. Now in your top story tonight, with India's budget 2025 being tabled in Parliament yesterday, Sri Lanka saw an increase in aid up to 3 billion Indian rupees as the crisis-hit nation recovers from an economic slump. This year, India has allocated 54.83 billion Indian rupees to assist neighboring countries under India's Neighborhood First policy. India's Minister of Finance Nirmala Sitharaman unveiled her 8th consecutive union budget yesterday, outlining what she called a roadmap for Indian economic growth, social welfare and technological advancements. Accordingly, the Minister of External Affairs has allocated 54.83 billion Indian rupees for foreign aid, while the overall budget for the External Affairs Ministry stands at 205.16 billion Indian rupees. This allocation of 205.16 billion Indian rupees is an increase of 15.45% in comparison to the budget tabled last year. 64% of this total portfolio has been earmarked to assist their neighboring countries under India's Neighborhood First policy. Sri Lanka saw an increase in its aid allocation to 3 billion Indian rupees from last year's budget estimate of 2.45 billion Indian rupees. The allocation corresponds to 10.32 billion Sri Lankan rupees. Bhutan continues to be India's largest foreign aid recipient, receiving 2.5 billion Indian rupees in 2025 and 2026. India's allocation for Maldives saw an increase from 4 billion Indian rupees to 6 billion Indian rupees. Afghanistan has seen its aid allocation decrease from last year's budget estimate of 1 billion Indian rupees. Similarly, allocations have also been made to assist Myanmar, Nepal and Bangladesh.
Union Assurance.
Welcome to Cinnamon Life, South Asia's biggest entertainment hub, where awe awaits.
චන්දුරුසුමේ කාගෙන් මන අපේ සිංහ TV සඳහා සුපිරි ඩීල්.
Sadaharita Plantations Limited, celebrating 22 years of your trust.
Crunchy goodness for hunger on the go.
Responsibility to look after our health.
The best nutritional supplement for diabetic patients with no added sugar. Maliban Vitagen. Stay healthy for a good reason.
Now, meanwhile, President Anura Dissanayake claims that the Chinese government has agreed to begin the implementation of 76 projects, including those that were previously halted in Sri Lanka. Speaking at a public gathering in Kurunegala yesterday, the president emphasized the importance of gaining the trust of key players in the country's financial sector, as well as the international community and investors, in order to stabilize the economy. He also revealed that during discussions with the president last week, the World Bank agreed to provide Sri Lanka with the largest loan it has offered this year.
President Anura Disanayaka attended a public gathering of the National People's Power in Kurunagala yesterday.
This government is only 2 months and 10 days old. We have not even presented our own budget yet. This government, which expects to undertake a long journey, has taken only a few steps so far. But I assure you, we will not stop without completing the thousands of steps needed to move forward. We inherited a country that was unable to pay its debt. Has our economy recovered? No. There are still many deep economic issues that we must address. What we are trying to do is move forward while systematically resolving these issues. We can assure you of one thing. We will make sure to create a nation that will not allow future generations to become victims of an economic crisis as our generation did in 2022 and 2023. Today, our country's ratings have improved. When we stopped servicing our debt, all foreign loan-aided projects came to a halt. 11 projects funded by Japan alone were affected. However, as we complete the debt restructuring process, the Japanese government has agreed to resume all of these 11 projects. Regarding China, it was China's Exim Bank that provided a loan for the construction of the Mirigaon to Kadawata section of the expressway. The project was halted over our inability to repay the loan. After recalculating the losses, we may still need to repay some of the loan, but they have agreed to restart the project while writing off part of the debt. Furthermore, the Chinese government has agreed to begin implementation of 76 projects, including the previously halted projects in Sri Lanka. No matter what we say, our economy is still largely driven by a small group of people. 90% of our export revenue comes from just 10% of exporters. Additionally, 69% of the Revenue Department's collections come from only 621 files. If this group loses trust in our economic plan, the entire economy will collapse. Therefore, we must regain the trust of these key players in the financial sector who hold the power of this economy. We must also work to earn the trust of the international community and investors. Without this, we will not be able to stabilize our economy. We are working hard towards that goal. The railway tracks from Mahava to Anuradhapura has been completed. The signal system for this route is being set up with a loan from India. The Indian government has agreed to convert this loan into a grant. They have also agreed to construct the Karinagar fort through another grant. We have built a strong relationship with India. China has provided a 20 billion rupee grant that we can use for projects of our choice. They have also agreed to provide 100% of the uniforms needed for school children in 2025 and 2026. Additionally, they have agreed to build a conference hall in the port city at no charge and to construct 2,000 housing units in Sri Lanka. We expect to visit the Middle East in mid-February to discuss the country's oil and gas needs. We are in major discussions with the Asian Development Bank and held discussions with the World Bank last week. The World Bank have agreed to provide us with the largest loan they have given to Sri Lanka this year. Our next challenge is to take care of the public until the economy recovers. While we have not yet presented our budget, when we do so on the 17th of February, we expect to provide substantial relief to the general public.
.5 million kilos of food stocks at the Veyangoda district granary received last year as part of the World Food Programme's aid to Sri Lanka have expired, making them unfit for consumption. Officials claim that the mismanagement and lack of timely action had directly contributed to this colossal waste of food. Sri Lanka has long struggled with rice shortages, a critical issue given that rice is the country's staple food. During the recent past, the country experienced frequent crises over the availability of rice, primarily driven by poor government policies. This crisis outlined the urgent need for a comprehensive, long-term approach to managing the rice supply in the country. Against this backdrop, it was recently uncovered that more than 1.5 million kilograms of food, including rice, lentils and dates, stored at the Veyangoda district granary, managed under the Food Commissioner's Department, have expired and are no longer fit for consumption. This food stock was received in 2023 as aid by the World Food Programme and was authorized for distribution among vulnerable communities across the island. Officials claim that the stock of food received from countries including Australia and Kazakhstan have been wasted due to poor poor management and distribution delays. Consequent to this startling development, a team led by Deputy Minister of National Integrity Mohammed Munir, along with Member of Parliament Ruwan Mapalagama, arrived at the Veyangoda facility to inspect the current situation.
It is sad to see this stock of food gone to waste. This stock can no longer be used for consumption. This food stock had been stored while the previous administration was in power. The stock was received as aid to be distributed among the poor and school children. Those who fail to perform their duties in this regard should be brought before the law.
අපි ඊයේ මේ ගැන දැනගෙන මූලික පරීක්ෂණ ආරම්භ කළා. මේ හාල් ඇටයක් ගානේ පරිප්පු ඇටයක් ගානේ නාස්ති කරපු බලධාරීන්ට නිලධාරීන්ට සහ දේශපාලකයන්ට ස්ථිරවම මේ නව රජයේ යටතේ නඩු පැවරීම් වන්දි ගෙවීම් කරන්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා මේ ජනතාවට කරපු මහා අපරාධය වෙනුවෙන්.
Fast track your career from O levels with eSoft.
ඩයබටිසෝල් සීනි වලින් පරිස්සම් වන ඔබට අමතක නොවන පෝෂණය.
ප්‍රයිම් ගෲප් ලංකාවේ ප්‍රථම වතාවට හඳුන්වා දෙන ලෑන්ඩ් ලීසින් ලේසියෙන් මීටමක්.
Single 1111 up to 60% off from the 11th November to the 17th of November.
Kalani wire කිසිගින්නක් නැහැ.
කිසිගින්නක් නැහැ. Kalani Fire Shield Wire.
Amid criticism regarding the government's inability to set up a certified price for harvested paddy, Minister of Trade, Commerce, Food Security and Cooperative Development Vasantha Samarasinha claims that a certified price for paddy will be soon announced. Minister Samarasinha clarified that the certified price will be based on the cost of production and the value of farmers' labour. The minister further emphasised that the certified price will be announced at an appropriate time, ensuring fairness to both farmers and consumers. Meanwhile, Minister of Health and Mass Media Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa drew attention to recent complaints lodged over subpar Ayurvedic products being sold and produced island-wide and asserted that the general public will be deprived of access to high-quality Ayurvedic products if the Ayurvedic Medicines and Products Regulatory Council fails to meet its responsibilities. Speaking at the inaugural session of the Ayurvedic Medicines and Products Regulatory Council, the minister revealed plans to combine Ayurvedic and Western medical facilities in tourist hotspots to provide a unique Sri Lankan experience for tourists. A ceremony to induct the new members of the Ayurvedic Medicines and Products Regulatory Council was held recently at the Rajgiri Ayurvedic National Hospital's auditorium under the patronage of Minister of Health and Mass Media, Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa. Subsequent to the official appointments, the first meeting of the Regulatory Council was convened where Minister of Health Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa discussed steps to be taken to regulate all Ayurvedic products, medicines and ingredients in a bid to provide high-quality standardized Ayurvedic products nationwide. According to a statement issued by the Minister of Health and Mass Media, all Ayurvedic pharmaceutical manufacturing facilities, pharmaceutical production, drugstores, medical equipment, production of Ayurvedic cosmetics, import and export of Ayurvedic products, drug storage and transportation, and the cultivation of herbs required by the Ayurvedic pharmaceutical industry fall within the purview of the Ayurvedic Medicines and Products Regulatory Council. During the inaugural session, the minister drew attention to several complaints lodged by concerned citizens over subpar Ayurvedic products and claimed that the general public will be deprived of access to good quality Ayurvedic products if the council fails to execute its responsibilities. Furthermore, the minister asserted that developing indigenous medicine remains a top priority for the government. He went on to claim that the government will identify special features of indigenous medicine and combine them with the tourism industry to provide a more holistic Sri Lankan experience for tourists. The minister also revealed plans to combine Ayurvedic hospitals with hospitals practicing Western medicine established in tourist hotspots, with further plans to improve the related human capital and physical infrastructure. Leader of the opposition, Sajith Premadasa, claims that the incumbent government, which claimed power promising pen-stroke solutions to complex issues, has failed to provide solutions to several pressing national concerns. Speaking at a public gathering in Kurunegala, the opposition leader also drew attention to the recent resignations of several high-profile officials and asserted that government failures prompted those resignations.
A public gathering organised by the Samagijana Balawegaya was recently held in Malsiripura in Kurunegala.
There are many issues grappling the country. The incumbent government has failed to address any of those issues. They said they would provide solutions immediately through a stroke of the pen. They all spoke of coronating farmers. However, did any of you receive the 25,000 rupee fertilizer subsidy at the right time? None of you did. There is an acute shortage of rice in the market today. Paddy has already been harvested in the eastern province. However, the government has still not announced the certified price of paddy. The Paddy Marketing Board has not even been able to issue the letter requesting the money allocated for the purchase of paddy. This is the plight of the current government. A significant number of red flag containers were cleared over the orders of the top. Customs Trade Union claimed that it was wrong. To assert that those containers do not contain any harmful substances, they must first be inspected. How can they claim that there is no issue when they have not even inspected them? Several top executives and officials who enthusiastically took office under the new administration resigned daily. All you intelligent observers can deduce that these high-profile resignations occur due to severe misshape in governance.
පොලිමට ගිහිල්ලා පත් කරපු සභාපතිවරු ආයතන ප්‍රධානීන් ඉල්ලා අස්වෙන්නට බරපතල ගැටලුවක් තිබෙනවා මේ රාජ්‍ය පාලනය.
Welcome back. Now, final rites of late former parliamentarian and senior leader of the Lanka Tamil Arasu Katchi, Mave Senathiraja, was performed in Jaffna today. The late former parliamentarian passed away at the Jaffna hospital where he had been admitted for a couple of days. He was 82 years of age at the time of his passing. President Anura Dissanayake also visited his residence a few days ago to pay his respects to the late former MP. Now in other local news, Justice Muhammad Lafa Tahir, the senior most judge of the Court of Appeal, was appointed as its acting president today. He was sworn in before President Anura Dissanayake at the Presidential Secretariat today. The appointment follows the pre-retirement leave of the current president of the Court of Appeal Justice Bandula Karunaratne, which has been accepted by the president. This appointment will remain in effect until a new acting president of the Court of Appeal is appointed in accordance with the Constitution. Let's take a look at the political thoughts shared in the political arena today.
පක්ෂයක් විදිහට අපේ දේශපාලන මණ්ඩලයේ තීන්දුව කර අපි ගමෙන් ගමට ගිහිල්ලා අපේ පාක්ෂිකය මුණ ගැහෙන්න ඕනේ කියලා. ඒ අනුව අද දැන් අපි ගමෙන් ගමට ගිහිල්ලා අපේ පක්ෂ ප්‍රතිසංවිධාන කටයුතු ආරම්භ කරනවා. ඔබතුමාගේ ප්‍රතිකාරී තමයි මෙවැනි පුද්ගලයෙකුට මෙවැනි දෙයක් මේ රජයේ සිද්ධ වෙන පිළිබඳව. මම හිතන්නේ මම එක පැත්තකින් සතුටු වෙනවා යාපනයේ മന്ത്രി කෙනෙක් ඇවිල්ලා ඉන්නවා ප්‍රභාකරන්ට දේවත්වයෙන් සලකන. අනික් කාරණේ ඒකේ එහා පැත්තේ කාරණේ ගැන මම කතා කරන්න යන්නේ නැහැ. හැබැයි ඉතින් දේශපාලනය කියන්නේ ඕක අපි අද ඊයේ දැකපු කාරණයක් නෙවෙයි. හැබැයි ඉතින් අපි පැහැදිලිව විශ්වාස කරනවා මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ ජනාධිපතිතුමා හරි තීන්දුව ගත්තා. යම් පරම්පරාවකින් පරම්පරාවකට යනකොට ඒ පිළිබඳව වැරදි අර්ථකථනයක් එන්න පුළුවන්. ඒක ලෝක මනුස්ස ස්වභාවය. තමන්ගේ නොකිය වහගන්න විපක්ෂයට නඩු දැම්මම විපක්ෂය හිසිරගත කරාම විපක්ෂයට හොරා කියලා චෝදනාව නැගුවම ආණ්ඩුව හිතනවා මේ රටේ ජනතාවගේ ප්‍රශ්න විසඳනවා ආණ්ඩුවට පාඩුවේ තමන්ගේ දේශපාලන කාරණය සහ ආණ්ඩුව කරගෙන යන්න පුළුවන් කියලා ඒක ආණ්ඩුවට වැරදිලා.
බලය හැමදාම ගියේ උන්ගේ අතින් උන්ගේ අතට. ලංකාවේ පළවෙනි අවස්ථාවට බලයක් ඇවිල්ලා තිනවා. මේ මහ පොළවේ ගුණසුමුද දන්න දහඩිය කඳුළු හෙලන ඔයාලගේ අතට අපේ අතට බලයක් ලැබිලා තියෙනවා. ආයි මේක හදලා මිසක් නේ දෙන්නේ නෑ නෙවෙයි දෙන්නේ කොහොමත් නෑ.
ආණ්ඩුවක් ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදීව පවතින නම් ජනතාව කැමති නම් ජනතාව ලබා දෙක ගැටලුවක් නෑ. හැබැයි මේක ගත්තේ දෙන්න නෙමෙයි කියලා කියන්නේ දැන් මේක සාර්ථකද? සාර්ථක නම් ඔය වගේ වහසි වස් දොරන්න ඕනේ නෑනේ.
ඉතින් ඔරුන්ට දරුවන් ටික දෙනකොට වංචා දූෂණ නවත්තනකොට ඒ කට්ටිය විඳ වරප්‍රසාද එකෙන් එක කැපෙනකොට එයාලා කලබලයටපත් වෙලා තියෙනවා. නිසා ඒ කට්ටිය ඉතින් අවසාන ඉලක්කය තමයි ඔරු ඔක්කොම එක කල්ලියක් බවටපත් තියෙනවා.
දැන් මේගොල්ලෝ මොකද්ද කියන්නේ? නෑ පඩි නඩි දීමනා අපි ගන්නෙ නෑ. නමුත් පක්ෂ අරමුදලට දානවා කියලා. ඉතින් මේ රටේ ජනතාවට වැඩක් තියෙනවා පක්ෂ අරමුදලට ගියා. මේ රටේ ජනතාව ඕවා කියලා තමයි රැවට්ටුවේ.
විශ්‍රාමික ජනාධිපතිවරු අනේ අපිට නරත්තු කරගන්න බෑ. එතකොට දැන් තුන් දෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා. එක්කෙනෙක් චන්ද්‍රිකා කුමාරතුංග, අනිත් එක්කෙනා මෛත්‍රීපාල සිරිසේන, අනිත් එක්කෙනා තමයි අපේ මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ මහත්තයා. අපි කියනවා යාට මන්දිරේ ඉන්න ආසමන. අපි කියලා තියෙනවා ගාන. ඒක දීලා අනේ ඉන්න. නැත්තම් යන්න.
මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ මහත්තයාගේ මේ මාධ්‍ය ප්‍රකාශකතුමා නම් කියන්නේ දැන් ඔබතුමාලගේ නායකතුමා ඔය යාපනයේ ගිහිල්ලා කෑ ගහලා සද්ද දාලා මේ ජනතාවට කතා කරන්නේ මහින්ද මහත්තයා මේ රට බේරගත්තේ හින්දායි කියලා.
ඔය ඉතින් රට බේරගත්තනේ. ඉතින් දැන් අපි මොකද්ද කරන්න ඕනේ? මහින්ද මහත්තයා කරේ තියාගෙන යන්න ඕනේ.
අයියෝ මහින්ද මහත්තයාගේ තමයි මේ ආණ්ඩුවේ තියෙන ලොකුම දේ. ඕක ඉවරක් කරගන්නකෝ. ඕක මොකද්ද ඔච්චර දැන් මහින්ද මහත්තයා කියලා තියෙනවා ලියුමක් එවන්නේ කියලා ලියුමක් අරින්න.
And now let's take a look at more news across the island in brief. Love and Human Sexuality, a book authored by senior psychological counselor, Justice of Peace, Deshamani Dr. Ravindra Nikapetiya, was launched today in Ganemulla. The ceremony was held under the patronage of parliamentarian and leader of the Sarvajana Balaya, Dilith Jayavira. A procession to commemorate the 73rd anniversary of Isipatana College, Colombo, was held yesterday in Havelock Town. Subsequently, an overnight Pirit chanting ceremony was held at the college premises to bless all students and faculty. The ceremony was organized under the guidance of Principal of Isipatana College, Darshana Udavatta. During a search operation conducted by the Navy in Kapumgoda Nigambo, 1,670.5 kilograms of kendu leaves and a dinghy abandoned at sea were seized yesterday. It is suspected that these kendu leaves were smuggled into the country but were later abandoned at sea, with smugglers being unable to bring the contraband ashore due to ongoing naval operations in the region. The seized stock of kendu leaves along with the dinghy were later handed over to the Customs Preventive Office in Katunayaka for onward legal action. In other local news, 3 foreigners who were staying over at a hostel in Are the Melma of the Kolpeti were hospitalized over a sudden illness. The hospitalized foreigners include a British woman and a German couple. Hospital sources revealed that the German couple continue to receive treatment at the hospital while the British woman has succumbed to her illness. And now looking over at your business development, President of the Coconut Milk Manufacturers Association, Randiva Malal Surya, says that the nation's coconut industry has the potential to bring in $2.5 billion as revenue, up from the current industry average of $850 million. Speaking to Other Derana First at 9, Malal Surya further stated that the country must improve the annual coconut production to 4.5 billion nuts in the long term, while also focusing on the import of low-value coconut products to produce value-added coconut products for re-export purposes. He also said that the Sri Lankan government, that Sri Lanka must decrease the wastage of fresh coconut by adopting processed coconut food.
If you look at coconut in general, is 850 million create export industry revenue in dollar terms. Out of that, 50% more or less come from kernel products, which is food sector, and the other 50% come from non-kernel sector. It has a huge potential to go at least about 2 billion or above if you can get the right practices in place. And if you look at world market, Sri Lanka still have a good opportunity in coconut sector. Even though Sri Lanka has on average 3 billion nuts, we are the 4th largest coconut manufacturer in the world. Even though we have a 850 million export revenue in dollar terms today, as industry, we strongly believe that we can short term take it up to 1.5 billion, and the long run we can go up to about 2.5 billion. This industry has huge potential, but to go there, 3 billion nuts is not enough. We need minimum of 4.5 billion nuts. So we need to look at for short term strategies, medium term and long term strategies. One of the short term strategies to bring some of the raw material from other neighboring countries, Indonesia, Philippines, or other countries. So in that way, you bring fresh nut or low value added product and add value, and then export back. If you really do it right, you can easily go to about 1.5 billion in short term and easily 2.5 billion. Sri Lanka still have one of the lowest yield per acre in a coconut plantation. So on average, it's about 50 to 60 nuts. And same varieties in different conditions, India goes up to about 100 nuts. So we strongly believe as coconut sector, we can improve this efficiency at least for 80 nuts. On the other hand, we still consume so much of coconut in a fresh format. So we need to slowly look at how are we going to use processed products to stop waste. Those are the 3 areas we see that coconut industry could go up to 1.5 billion and then beyond that. Sri Lanka's Hambantota International Port expressed readiness to facilitate vehicle imports, which have been allowed from yesterday. In 2024, HIP had transshipped 579,362 vehicles, up from 238,997 in 2023. The chief executive of Hambantota International Port Group, Wilson Koo, said that a yard with a storage capacity for at least 4,000 vehicles has been set up, designed to handle both imports and transshipment vehicles. The entire port, including jetty and temporary storage areas, is fully fenced and monitored by 24/7 CCTV surveillance. Mobile and foot patrols are also deployed to maintain safety and accountability at every stage of the vehicle handling process. With that, here's a look at some corporate news in brief.
issue 150 million Tier 2 listed, rated, unsecured, subordinated, redeemable debentures with a non-viability conversion with ordinary voting shares at 100 rupees each to raise 15 billion rupees. The bank stated that 150 million debentures will be issued in one or more issuances until the 31st of December this year. Meanwhile, TJ Group announced a year-to-date profit after tax of 1.9 billion rupees for third quarter of financial year 2024-2025. This marks a 234% increase compared to the corresponding period last year. The group revenue also reached 49.8 billion rupees for the period ending 31st December 2024, reflecting a 10% growth compared to the previous year. In other corporate news, Cooperative Insurance Company PLC announced the resignation of A.B. Senadira as the chairman of the company with effect from the 29th of January 2025. In its corporate disclosure, the company stated that Senadira has no interest in shares as of his date of resignation.
That's all the news we have for you tonight. For further updates, stay in touch with other Derana, the nation's most trusted news source. Thank you. Have a great night.
For news and information you can trust 24 hours a day, visit otherderana.lk.